Alright, Atlanta in the truck. So I'm doing my normal setup here for 1.5 miles in the truck. Brake bias we don't have to worry about for qualifying because we're not going to be using any brake. A little bit later in the run you might be seeing yourself using some brake. You'll have to be on pretty old tires. There's a lot more grip in this track than there usually is for this combo. The track temperature is pretty low, and because of that you can easily full throttle 3 and 4 for hot lap. 1 and 2 you technically can. It's a little bit more difficult, and then maybe the fastest way is to lift a little bit and then cut to the bottom, but we'll go over all that. We're gonna do 3 laps here, I think. First lap will just be a warm-up because the tires are not hot enough to make lap 1 work. Then second lap we're gonna run full top, whereas we're not gonna try to cut to the bottom at all. That's gonna be the easier qualifying line. And then the harder qualifying line is gonna be where we cut to the bottom. The late apex, kind of like this. We want to make sure the car keeps turning because we don't want the car to apex too early. If we do that, then the car will just get super loose off the corner. 3 and 4 is a lot easier to full throttle. It's essentially just a super speedway corner. You got to get the right turn, and you can't turn in too late. But then beyond that, you just got to hold your wheel at an angle that's not too extreme, and the car will be completely fine. So let's do our first attempt of a hot lap. It'll be up at top. Shouldn't have to lift up here. Stay in this groove, kind of in the middle. I'm lifting a little bit actually. It's easy to get super loose there, so don't feel bad if you have to lift in 1 and 2. 3 and 4 though, it should be a lot easier to full throttle. I'm just going to keep it up here. Exit 4 is a little bit deceptive, so make sure that you don't let it up too early. And then we're going to try to cut down to the bottom a little more in this turn. Try to make it as late as possible while still turning down the whole time. So I'm going to let off a little bit here. Keep the car turning, keep the car turning, then throttle through the bottom there, let the car slide up. About the same time. Really, really close. 3 and 4. I think you can just full throttle all the way to the bottom here. Make it a little bit loose. I had to do a little bit of a lift, but that really should be similar. So those 2 times are within a few hundredths. I think that going to the bottom, you can optimize it more because you can basically get it perfect where it's never actually sliding and you never lose any speed. But the execution of that's just a lot harder. So yeah, within 200ths. So with 1, the big thing to worry about is basically finishing the corner, because if you look at the shapes of the corners, turn 1 and 2, you start wide and then it tightens up. Well, we're already kind of on the edge of grip, so as the corner's tightening up, that really stresses our car even more. So we got to make sure either 1 of 2 things happens. We either make sure that we're getting rotation in the car to kind of account for the exit tightening up in terms of radius, or we are just making sure that we're not carrying too much speed so that we have like all that force on our right rear tire that will kind of jump the shark when we get to the exit. Both exits can come at you pretty quick, but exit of 2 is the one where you think you're in the corner, you think you have it great, and then suddenly you see that you're just headed straight towards a wall and exit. That's kind of how these quad ovals work, and tri-ovals too, and it still catches a lot of people out. So you can full throttle this. I probably would want to be a little bit higher if I was going to full throttle it, but I was trying to see if I could be a little bit lower in full throttle, because obviously the lower that you can be full throttle, keep full grip, the faster your time's going to be. So the main thing is just, though, get your car nose pitched before the banking. Let the banking kind of drive your angle into the corner. So like kind of help that little, you see like right here. That part of the banking right there, right before the Atlanta, right there. In fact, the best way to see this is to go into gyro. So you see from right here, oh, ow, my ears, I'm sorry. So from right here to right here, you see how the gyro completely moves? You want your nose angle to be set before that gyro motion. And then from there, if you have the right nose angle, the corner's pretty manageable. And if you have to make up nose angle like I had to do here, I recognized that my nose angle was not going to help me get out of the corner. So I had to lift. But ideally your nose angle is set and you don't have to lift. 3 and 4, honestly, I don't have much to say about. You just go full throttle. And if you're struggling holding full throttle in 3 and 4, that usually just means you have to turn too much in the corner, which tells me you're not turning in early enough. 1 and 2, we now add a little bit of a lift to help us get down the track and nose pointed. We really want to apex as late as possible. You can kind of see where there's a little kink in the line here. There's like this bump here where if you're starting up towards the wall, even a little bit before that bump, it's just going to send you. So you almost want to just keep turning down, keep turning down, keep turning down, keep turning down, and then come up. And then from here, same idea. I gotta do one burp here. No, you can full throttle it. Oh, I did one little burp coming down. I'm pretty sure you can full throttle this. I just kind of lost my bravery, and I don't think it cost me anything. But yeah. 3 and 4 is just trial and error. 1 and 2, you actually do have to have the goal of apexing as late as possible if you want to go to the bottom. So with that in mind, how are we going to save tires here? So generally, the top wears more tire than the bottom. Now, if you are on the top and you don't have a right rear to lean on, then you're just going to have a bad time getting grip up off the corner. So basically, to save tires, I think everyone's going to end up at the top. That's usually how the Atlanta races go. At least, excuse me, it's full tires. Especially if you're not like out front controlling the race. If you're just like battling, the top is where a lot of people are going to end up. I think that the best tire saving lines at Atlanta are these kind of late apex lines where you get to the bottom and you let the car kind of rotate on the right rear out of the corner. But that line saves right front tire. So running a right rear burning line is really good if you're going to stay at the bottom forever. The moment that you need to go to the top, you don't have that right rear to get your drive out of the corner anymore. So even if the top wears more right front tire, it needs more right rear tire to really make the speed, if that makes sense. Like you can see here, I can run the bottom and lose like less than a tenth per end, which is like amazing for early run. Like as long as you're not going to get somebody freight training you, like this is just going to be how you save your tires. And I think as the tires wear off, we need to recognize like, okay, have I been over saving my right front, or have I been more balanced? If you're more balanced, then you're more suited to end up at the top. If you're running that tire saving line that really puts the car in the right rear, gets a little loose off the corners, you might just want to commit to the bottom for the full race. Because it's really hard to run the top optimally if you have uneven tire wear going into it, even if you've saved more right front. Like usually everything's about saving right front, but when we need both tires to be even, then it almost doesn't matter. You shouldn't be doing those techniques to force the car on the right rear at that point. But you can see, like, especially early run, like, it's very fine just to stay at the bottom. Don't force the steering wheel. In the draft, it's going to be a little bit different too. You're going to go a little faster into the corners. You're going to be a little bit tighter in the dirty air. Probably a little bit more off throttle time on the front end to combat that will help. And then when we move to the top, usually the top is better than 1 and 2 than it is in 3 and 4. Just because you can shortcut so much at 3 and 4. You see how far behind. Like, you see I don't even get a run there. I full throttle that corner and I don't get a run there. So that tells me that potentially the bottom can be the play for the whole race. Yeah. Like, that's really bad for the top if I can full throttle it and you just carry the same speed off the bottom. Like, there's no reason to run the top at that point. You're not getting a run on anyone. So we'll see how much of a run it gets on me here. Just really trying to keep the car as evenly balanced as possible. So it's about a tenth That's a solid 2/10 off the corner. So it's going to be a dogfight in the race, controlling track position, saving tires. If you can keep the car really steady up top, I don't see why that can't work, especially with how often cautions happen. You might just want to control the top for the whole race and just bank on some well-timed yellows. Because in these races, like, saving tires in the long game is a lot of times like a net negative unless you're already out front controlling the race. We'll see if we're burning more front or rear tire. More rear tire, so that was kind of what I was saying. When you're running the bottom, it can put more on the rear and then make it harder to run the top. But the top was still really stable at that point in the run. But anyway, thank you all for watching. Hope you have a wonderful day. Hope to see you all on the track.